Welcome, everyone. My name is Antonia Estrada, Head of Professional Learning at Uprooted Academy. Today, we're going to discuss how to help students and families navigate financial aid offer letters. So these letters can be confusing, filled with unfamiliar terms, and difficult to interpret. So our goal is to break these letters down so students can make smart, informed decisions about paying for college. So at Uprooted Academy, for those of you who may not be familiar with us, we're all about supporting first-generation low-income students of color. We provide free resources to help them with the college application process, understand financial aid, explore careers, and take care of their mental well-being. We want to make sure they have the tools they need to succeed, not just in college, but in life. We know the college application process can be overwhelming, so we offer a variety of programs to help. We have virtual college and career fairs connecting students with opportunities, and I'll be mentioning a little bit more detail later on, but we have our second annual career fair coming up on Saturday, March 15th. So just in a few weeks, really excited about that. We also offer professional development training, supporting counselors and educators. For example, the session you're attending right now. We also have student and parent workshops that break down the college process step by step. And we also offer direct student support, in-person support in Los Angeles, and virtual support to help students one-on-one. So let's get started. Students often believe that financial aid offers are final, but they actually have options. By comparing offers, students can make a more strategic and financially sound decision about where to enroll. So let's break down why this matters and how you as their counselors can guide them. So students don't have to accept everything in their financial aid package. They can reduce or decline loans entirely if they feel the amount is too much. It's important to understand exactly how much debt they're being asked to take on and whether there are gaps in funding that still need to be covered. Financial aid isn't just about getting through the first year. Students need to think long-term. Some key questions that they should consider asking: how much will I need to borrow over 4 years? What's the typical starting salary in my career field? What will my monthly loan payments be, and can I afford them? How much interest will build up if I take longer to repay my loans? So encouraging students to think beyond their first year helps them make a smarter financial plan and avoid overwhelming debt after graduation. While schools don't always negotiate, having multiple financial aid offers gives students more power to ask for additional financial assistance. For example, if a student gets the better package from another school, they can approach their top choice and say, I really want to attend your school, but another college has offered me a better financial aid package. Are there any additional grants, scholarships, or resources that could help close the gap? The worst a school can say is no, but sometimes they'll come through with more aid than expected. Without multiple offers to compare, students won't even know what's possible. And of course, to get those multiple offers, they need to apply to a variety of colleges that ideally are all a good financial fit. Fill out the FAFSA, fill out any other financial aid applications that the school requires in a timely manner to be able to get those multiple financial aid offers and compare. Cost versus affordability. So a school sticker price, that sometimes outrageous figure that you'll see published on a school's website, 90,000, 100,000, so on, that doesn't always reflect what a student will actually pay. Some expensive colleges offer generous scholarships, making them more affordable than schools with lower tuition but fewer grants. Now, I happen to have attended one of those very expensive colleges, but because I was working class, I got a generous financial aid package and was able to graduate school debt-free. So sometimes those expensive colleges are actually wind up being cheaper. Now, choosing a college is a huge financial commitment, possibly the students as a young adult, first major financial decision. And students should think about it like making a big purchase. Would you sign a loan for thousands of dollars without understanding the terms? Probably not, and hopefully not. So students should see themselves as smart consumers when deciding on which college to enroll in. We want them to avoid taking on debt that they can't handle. So finally, to recap, by comparing financial aid offers, students can choose the school that's the best fit for both their education and their wallet. Now, when comparing financial aid packages, students should make sure they understand exactly what they're being offered and what their total cost will be. So one of the main things to look at is the cost of attendance. This should be probably the first thing they see on their financial aid letter. So let's just talk a little bit about what the cost of attendance is. The cost of attendance is the sum of the direct costs plus the indirect costs. So as I said, the financial aid package should reflect or should include what the cost of attendance is. Now, when we talk about direct costs, we mean tuition, fees, housing, meal plans, what's billed directly by the school, what's on the bill that the student will get, typically for the first term in August and for the second term in December or January, right? So again, if a student lives off campus, they will be billed directly by the school for their housing and food. They'll have to pay their landlord for their rent and the grocery store for their food. But if they live on campus, and many schools require usually at least freshmen to live on campus, the direct costs, what will be billed by the university, tuition and fees, and typically housing and food. Now, in addition to direct costs, there are also indirect costs. So these are books, transportation, supplies, personal expenses, etc. Students have some control over indirect costs. So for example, they can choose to buy used books instead of buying new books. They can choose to live at home if they're not required to live on campus and save some money that way. However, direct costs are fixed and must be paid to the school directly. So again, the cost of attendance, oops, sorry about that. The cost of attendance, direct cost plus indirect cost. Now, when students get their financial aid, offer letters, they will see different types of aid in that letter, right? So grants and scholarships, work study, and loans. They might see one or two or three of these types of aid on their letter. So not necessarily all three. So you as counselors can help your students differentiate between these types of aid. So let's look at the first one, grants and scholarships. The best type of financial aid, it's free money, does not have to be repaid. But if a student does have grants and scholarships on their financial aid letter, again, free money doesn't have to be repaid, but they can ask a couple of things to consider when looking at grants and scholarships. So one, are the scholarships renewable? So what's required to keep them? Do students need to maintain a certain GPA? Or is it more general, like just as long as they are in good academic standing, they'll keep their scholarship? So that's important to understand sort of the eligibility requirements to maintain that scholarship. What happens if the student switches majors? Will they still qualify for their scholarship, or could they lose it? So not all scholarships last for years. So students need to know the requirements upfront to avoid losing aid down the road. So is that scholarship applicable just for the first year, or is it applicable for all the years that a student is in college? Second type of aid is work study. So work study isn't like grants. It's not guaranteed money unless students can get a qualifying work study job. So some important questions for students to consider when thinking about work study. One, does the school explain how to find a work study job? Two, how many hours a week would the student need to work to gain the full award? So typical work study award, again, the average is about $2,000. So imagine a student is awarded $2,000 in work study. To figure out, what the number of hours a student might need to work, look at the minimum. Work study jobs are typically minimum wage, so look at where the school is located. So for example, if a student is attending a school in New York City, the minimum wage this year is $16.50. Probably go up next year. So if a student is awarded $2,000 and is attending a school in New York City, you would simply divide the $2,000 by the minimum wage, $16.50, to get the number of hours that a student would need to work to get that full award. And then you could divide those hours by the number of weeks in a school year to figure out the average of what a student might need to work per week, usually 5 to 10 hours. But again, you can do the calculations and figure it out, and whether the student feels comfortable being able to work that amount of hours. Other things to think about when thinking about work study, are there deadlines to accept that work study award or secure a job before the funds are given to someone else? So some schools, some reassign unclaimed work study funds. So students should check if there's a deadline to accept that offer or find a job. Also, if they decline work study in their first year, will they still be eligible later in later years for a work study job? Third type of aid is loans. So the least attractive type of financial aid because they have to be repaid and typically with interest. So if loans are part of the financial aid package, students should know how much they're borrowing and what type of loans they are, whether they're subsidized or unsubsidized, what the interest rates and repayment terms are. So this affects how much they'll owe after graduation, whether they can borrow only part of the loan instead of the full amount offered. Again, this is typically a student can decline part or all of the loan if they don't feel comfortable taking on the debt or all the debt. If a parent plus loan is included, does the parent know they have to pass a credit check in order to get that loan? So these are some of the things students should consider when thinking about loans if they're part of the financial aid package. Students also need to complete loan requirements like entrance counseling and signing a promissory note before receiving the funds if they do decide to take out loans. So before we actually get into looking at a sample award letter, the whole point of, or one of the reasons that we're having this session is that financial aid award letters can be really tricky. Unfortunately, schools don't use a standard format, so students may not realize what's being offered to them because they can't really compare apples to apples, to comparing apples to oranges. And so families struggle to figure out what their actual out-of-pocket costs could be. So it's important that we help students make sense of these letters, of the details, so they don't take on unnecessary debt. Just an example, loan terminology across these letters varies. So one school might call it a direct subsidized loan, but another might call it a federal Stafford loan, which is the old term. Less than 30% of award letters clearly separate grants from loans. Again, grants are free money that don't have to be repaid. Loans have to be repaid with interest. So by not making it very clear, families might not know how much money they actually need to pay back. So again, the reason why we're having this session is to help your students understand, be able to compare those offer letters accurately. Before we get into looking at a sample award letter, I just wanted to quickly talk about this concept of net price. So as I mentioned before, the cost of attendance, that's that big astronomical figure that we see on college's website. The sticker price, sort of like the sticker price of a car, that's, again, the college's published cost of attendance on their website. Now, net price, though, is a difference between sticker price and grants and scholarships. So again, grants and scholarships, free money that you don't have to pay back, right? That can be awarded by the college, the state, or the federal government. So the net price is, again, the sticker price minus that free money you don't have to pay back. That's what's called the net price, right? The real amount that a student and their family would have to pay. And they would typically pay that with loans, savings, work, or income. So I just want to mention the net price because we're going to see it in the sample letter that we look at now. So this is, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit as we look at this letter. So this is a sample financial aid offer. And a financial aid offer, just to clarify, is a college's initial offer of assistance to cover a student's educational expenses for one academic year. So again, in this case, it's for the 24-25 award year. So for one academic year, students, when they apply for aid, they have to fill out the FAFSA every year. So that award letter might differ year to year. If the student's financial situation changes, if it doesn't, I think students can more or less expect it to be the same. But again, it's for one academic year. So let's look a little bit more detail at the sample financial aid offer from Sample University for the 24-25 academic year. So as you see here, cost of attendance, which we saw before, clearly laid out the direct costs, the costs payable to the university, and the indirect costs, right? Here they don't actually say direct and indirect, but they do say costs payable to the university and other estimated costs. So here the total estimated cost of attendance is $31,516. Again, the sum of the direct costs plus the indirect costs. Then the letter goes into the grants and scholarships. Again, free money that doesn't have to be repaid. But as you can see here, it does mention, it does tell the student to refer to renewal eligibility. Again, if there are any requirements to renew those grants and scholarships, such as maintaining a certain GPA. So here the student has been awarded 2 federal grants, the Pell Grant and the Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. The student has been awarded a state grant, and the student has been awarded 2 institutional scholarships, so money directly from the college's own funds. And here it's broken down into fall and spring terms for greater clarity. And the total amount of scholarships on an annual basis, or for this year that the student has been awarded, is $21,995. So the net price, as we saw before, the net price is the total cost of attendance minus that free money that doesn't have to be repaid. The net price is $9,521. So this is the amount that the student must cover through work, loans, savings, current income. That's what is the net price. Now, after the net price, the letter clearly lays out the loans that the student can borrow. So these loans are optional, but they're included in the package. The student here has been awarded or can take out 2 federal loans. One that is a direct subsidized loan. Sorry, my alarm, sorry about that. And the unsubsidized loan in the amount of $2,000. So I believe that this is the maximum amount that a student can take out in federal loans as a first year. So as a freshman, that amount goes up slightly for each subsequent year that the student is in school. But here again, the student has been awarded $5,500 in loans. Again, the student can decide to take them out or not. Subsidized loan being more attractive than an unsubsidized loan. Again, it's important to remember loans have to be repaid with interest, and so students should only borrow what they truly need to avoid unnecessary debt. Most likely, if the student has to take out $5,500 as a first year, then they will need to take out similar amounts in subsequent years, unless their financial situation changes. And so the amount that they would have to take out, assuming they take out $5,500 every year, that would be $22,000. So really, again, when I mentioned at the beginning, students need to think about long-term. They need to consider the amount that the debt that they would take on for all the years that they're in college, not just the first year. So then if the student does decide to take out those loans, then the estimated or the remaining balance that they would have to figure out how to pay for would be $4,021. So $9,521 minus $5,500 gets you to $4,021. So this student has also been awarded federal work study. The student is eligible for $3,000 in work study, $1,500 per semester. So again, work study is not guaranteed. Students have to find a qualifying job, usually on campus, but there are also off-campus work study jobs. So as a freshman in college, I had work study. I had my first term a job on campus, and my second term a job off campus. So again, this is students are not awarded, the student would not be awarded $1,500 in one lump sum at the beginning of the fall term. The student would have to earn it in a paycheck, right? So little by little. Work study is great. I'm a big fan of work study. If the student feels they can handle those hours working, but students, should consider, whether they can handle those hours working and budget accordingly. So after the final calculation, if the student decides to accept the work study offer, would be the remaining balance would be $1,021. So $4,021 minus $3,000 is $1,021. That's what the student, I guess, would be the remaining balance that they would have to find a way to meet that gap. So again, just to recap, net price $9,521. If the student decides to take out the maximum amount of loans offered, $4,021. If the student decides to accept the work study offer, the remaining balance would be $1,021. So just a little bit more information, a little bit more comments I want to make about loans that we saw on the offer letter. Federal loans often have better terms than private loans. We really discourage students from taking out private loans, such as from a bank. Federal loans, as I said, typically have lower interest rates and better repayment options. In terms of federal loans, subsidized loans are better than unsubsidized loans because subsidized loans don't accrue interest while in school. But not all students may qualify for a subsidized loan. So they may be offered only unsubsidized loans. And finally, Parent Plus loans. We did not see any Parent Plus loans on the offer letter that we saw in the previous slide. But Parent Plus loans do require a credit check and may not be the best option for every family. Again, the Parent Plus loan is taken out in the parent's name, not in the student's name. So just a few comments I wanted to make about loans. So what should students do next when they receive their offer letters? They should go through the aid package carefully. All right, don't assume that everything is free money. Again, some of these offer letters, unfortunately, are not very clear. It might students might think that a loan is free money when it's not, because the grants and loans might not be clearly spelled out. So go through the aid package carefully, and we're gonna show you some resources that can be great for helping students compare financial aid offer letters. 2, look at their unmet need. What costs still need to be covered after grants and scholarships, loans if they decide to take them out, and work study. Consider appealing for more aid. So if the student's financial situation has changed, they can ask for a review. I'll share some resources that will help students with an appeal if they decide to appeal. And finally, reach out to financial aid offices. So they are there to help. So if something isn't clear, students should reach out and ask questions and get clarification. So these steps can help students avoid taking out unnecessary loans, and in the end, make college more affordable. So appealing financial aid offers, I mentioned kind of briefly at the beginning a little bit about this. So students can ask for more financial aid if their situation has changed. Some reasons, this is not an exhaustive list, but some reasons they might qualify for an appeal: loss of income in the family, unexpected medical expenses. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, if they get a more competitive offer from another school, doesn't hurt to ask the school, hey, the top choice school, if they can get a better financial aid offer. So they should write a simple professional appeal letter and provide documentation to support, for example, loss of income in the family or unexpected medical expenses. So while extra aid isn't guaranteed, it's always worth asking. It never hurts. So comparing offers and next steps, encourage students to use a financial aid comparison tool. Right? I'm going to share some resources in the next few slides. Ask questions and clarify unclear terms with financial aid offices. And plan for the full 4 years, not just the first year. Again, referencing what I mentioned at the beginning, students have to think long-term about those 4 years, possibly 5 or even 6. So let me just kind of go over some great tools that will help students compare financial aid offers, especially if those offer letters are a little bit confusing and can't be easily compared. So I will I'll send you a follow-up email with the links to all these resources, so no need to write them down now. So first, a great tool is Decided. It's a great tool. As you can see here, it says Decided, just upload a picture of an award letter and we'll do the math. So this is a free tool where students can upload their financial aid award letters, and Decided calculates the numbers, lays out the costs, and aid in the format that's easy to understand. Students, advisors can create a free account. Another great tool is UAspire, a great nonprofit that helps students with everything related to financial aid. They also have a college cost calculator, which is a free calculator to compare financial aid offers and the estimated total cost of attending different colleges. They also have a short video that explains how to use this college cost calculator. Other resources, perhaps a little bit more low tech, but maybe that's your preference. The MEFA College Cost Calculator, so a simple tool from the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority for quick college cost comparisons. A worksheet, a printable worksheet for manually comparing 3 colleges from the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. And finally, another worksheet from Level Up Virginia, which is offered on Google Sheets and Excel, and also in PDF format. In terms of resources for students in terms of resources about loans, there are a few that are worth mentioning here that I will share with you. So the Student Debt Affordability Calculator, recommended by NACAC, the National Association of College Admissions Counselors, is designed to help students make informed debt decisions as they begin their college journey. The Federal Student Loan Simulator helps students estimate monthly loan payments and choose a loan repayment option that best meets their needs and goals. And finally, the Sallie Mae Student Loan Calculator that students can use to estimate their payment amount. So you can check out all these three and find the one that you think would be most useful for your students. And finally, the last set of additional resources have to do with an appeal, the appeal process. So if after careful consideration, students find that their financial aid package needs adjustment, Swiss Student and U Aspire offer free guidance on writing a financial aid appeal letter. So these are resources that I'm going to share with you in a follow-up email you should be getting shortly after this webinar. So that's it. Hopefully this information has been useful to you. I encourage you to stay engaged with us. Read our blogs for tips and tricks. So our blogs cover a wide variety of topics related to college, including financial aid. Come to our free events, such as the one you're attending right now, and follow us on social media to stay updated. Talking about free events, as I mentioned before, we have our upcoming Major and Career Discovery Fair happening on Saturday, March 15th. So in a few weeks, and it is a perfect opportunity for students to connect with industry professionals. So these experts will share their career journeys, insider tips, and practical advice to help guide students toward the right major and career path. So this only 2 hours virtual event, so students can attend it from the comfort of their own homes, is completely free. So please encourage your students to register now. And I'll be sending that information as well in a follow-up email. You can also find the information on our website where you can register. And finally, that's it. Hope that this has been helpful. Ask you to please fill out a survey that I'll be sending up in a follow-up email. Your feedback is valuable. It's really important for us to help us continually improve future sessions. So thank you very much for attending. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have now.